Singapore, first morning. The Riverview Hotel from the outside. Rather large place to see. On the 5th floor, by the way, is the swimming pool, which is where I'm living. And this is the road outside. This is the surrounding area. Storm King's Hotel across the road. Miramar Hotel, etc, etc. We're waiting for a number 51 bus to take us to Buggett's MRT station. This could be it.
We're going to stop at the side in the main entrance, so you can turn it and have a quick look in. That's another guard tower.
Changi Jail.
The whole stretch of the long-way wall over there. And that's all that remains of the original 1936 Changi prison.
All that remains of it.
It's a real shame that we lost those two buildings. So what we've been trying to do, we've been working with the British and the Australian High Commission and the Singapore government to get all the POWs names on that wall. It's a project in progress.
The outside wall. Use the bus noise in the background, I'll move away from it. Backside of the jail. On coach trip. And that's the museum. This is all that remains, really. There you go.
Okay, I've got a map of the Changi area, and you can see many of the places that we're visiting. First of all, Changi Chapel Museum over here. Johor, the battery, the first gun, this is where we're at. And gun number 2, number 3, in that direction. Yeah? They're no longer there, and this one also is not an original. What happened is that as the Japanese forces, as they came into Singapore, and as the days progressed, we realized we're not going to win. We actually sent out an order around the 13th of February, 2 days before surrender. Order went to the command centers, cinders all, explode everything, so that the Japanese couldn't use it if they took over. And that's when explosives were laid along the ammunition chambers and the gun barrels as well. I've got a picture to show you what it used to look like. And what happened after. Everything was blown up, and even the metal that was left here, it didn't stay long because the Japanese salvaged all the metal and they melted it down and used it for their own war effort. So we recreated it here so that we can continue telling you the story. But this is the exact location of the very first one. Firing range, the largest guns in Singapore, range would be about 32 to 34 kilometers. This shows you how far it could go. And actually, much of Johor Bahru as well. Pretty large range. Now, I talk about the guns in Singapore. Did they fire? Did they not? Everyone thinks they didn't. They were all pointed in the wrong way towards the sea, the south. Everyone says they didn't turn. They did. All 29 guns in Singapore. As the Japanese came from the northwest, they all turned in that direction. For those here in Changi, we had guys on Pulau Ubin, that island, the 400 men. So they came from that way. Ours turned in that direction. There was only one gun in the west of Singapore, Buona Vista, a 15-inch gun. The British forgot the turning cable for that one, so that one didn't turn. But the rest, they all did. Now, the other myth is that the guns never fired. Now, if they turn, of course they fired, right? Unfortunately, they weren't very effective because these guns, they're coastal artillery guns, right? They're facing out towards the sea. They're meant for battleships that are trying to come. Battleships, the kind of shells that we have, armor-piercing shells, which means it flies out there, it hits the armor, it's got a delayed fuse because it's got to penetrate through the armor first to get in, and then it explodes. We needed high explosive shells, leaky shells, maximum shrapnel damage. We didn't have those. Ours were the delayed fuse ones. And if you read Japanese soldiers' accounts of their invasion, many of them tell of as they're walking down the streets, they hear huge roar, and everyone thinks, major explosion. They hit the ground, and then all they hear is a thud, no explosion at all. They all lift their heads up, they look around, and they see this shell digging a crater in the ground. They have time to run up to have a look at it. They have time to run away, and then it explodes. So not very effective. Yeah, the guns did turn, they did fire. We just didn't have the proper ammunition below, and that was where the ammunition was stored. One way to get in is actually, you see the blue railings over there? And the tunnels were discovered about maybe 15 years ago. When we found it, it was like this, totally flooded out. And it was a cat ladder. You had to climb down, staggered, going 3 stories in. The water's been pumped out last year. While they were doing the pumping out, I managed to actually wiggle in, down, and I got only to the first story down, and then I gave up because it was dark, it was claustrophobic, really bad experience. I didn't want to continue, so I came back up. But eventually they hope to open up the tunnels to the public as well. It's a work in progress. Okay, the way in, over there, you'd have a long corridor, and all the way down at the back, can you see that big open space there? That would be the engine room where the tanks, gasoline tanks were, and the generators. Everything was kept below ground so that even if the place was bombed, it could still operate. The 3 chambers right in front of you, you can see these 3 rectangular chambers in front? That was where the shells were stored. And they were moved up to the gun barrel by mechanized cranes. There were 2 lifts on both sides. There's one there. Can you see that? There's that big rectangular space open there, one over there, one on the other side over there, the other space there. And there would be a lot of machinery here, shifting the shells out into this direction. What's happening to the place? You notice that there's a bit of construction happening. There's a cafe that's opened up here. They're trying to revive the place, maybe attract people to come in. Work in progress as well. So eventually, hopefully, more people will be interested in visiting.
Changi Airport. Alright.
So the first third of it is original coastline, and then all the rest further down, that would be mainland that was added on. A bit of trivia for you, Singapore's reclaimed about 21% of our land since Raffles got here until today. But we can't keep on reclaiming because Jackson is 24%, and we're going to hit our neighbours' waters, and I don't think they'll be very happy with us. So we've actually almost hit our limit already. That's why you get the buildings going higher.
much the same. Changi would only change really dramatically after Singapore gained independence. So from late 70s, early 80s onwards. Now, what we're going to do now is actually I'm going to take you onto the beach itself.
Excuse me, what's the difference now?
Well, we did the reclamation.